Oh, the invisible man.
Oh, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're a couple of minutes late. The only reason is we were too busy talking and lost track of time, so apologies, no technical difficulties that held us back this time. So just quick introductions. On my left, right, on your left, Ryan David Jans, bassman extraordinaire.
And opposite to that, because I'm already confused by all those left-right options, is Mark David Stahl.
Oh.
Oh, the invisible.
And that was me hitting the keyboard. And we are It's All in the Mind.
It's all in the mind.
So no technical
We even had a
difficulties.
tagger. And it looks like our cohort for our regular big shows, Phil Dupuis, is joining us. Hello there,
Hey,
Colorado
Phil, buddy. How you
Phil.
doing? Good to see you. Okay, well, that starts, then a full start, and then we're back again. With this time we rehearsed the intro, and I screwed it up anyway. So today this is part 2 of our show about online scams, or music industry scams. This is actually going to be very applicable to all kinds of scams, particularly online scams, but phone scams. There's a lot of that we're going to offer you by way of a toolkit to defend yourself. I think that we were going to just say, if you're watching us you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube. If you go to theinvisibleman.ca/live, you'll see us live now. And way better quality picture than you're going to get on Facebook. It's the Colorado Phil Show page, the It's All in the Mind fan page as well. And on Periscope. I'm not sure if anyone's there yet, but we'll check later. And just for those of you who are just kind of checking in, we will have the full show with Phil on the 13th with special guest Carrie Luce Forsyth. Anyhow, on with the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
What happened there? Yeah. Anyways, we've got Catherine, our friend Catherine, all the way from Ireland, joining us here online on Facebook.
Hey, Catherine,
and just wanted to give a quick promo for Load. I actually downloaded, paid for and downloaded. Just be very careful with that. I did actually pay 100% full price for the album. Load's was it Loose Over Unleashed? I'll get that name properly before the end of the show. Great album. You should go. Well, first of all, you should buy it off Carrie if you can. But if you're like me and can't go out anymore because you have kids, buy the album. It's phenomenal. It's a great album. Okay. Totally blown away by it. But that's more from another show, another time. Okay, so we are gonna go.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about scams. So scams are anything. The scams are the same kinds of scams in the music industry as they are in other areas, but of course they're just tailored for musicians. And one of the things I think that really a scam is something that's not what it seems to be, to trick you into parting with your money, and they'll give you nothing or very little in return. That's really what a scam is, and it's they never tell you the details. So I think that there are several reasons why we get scammed. And I mentioned one last week in our last show. So go check that out. We actually detail the kinds of scams in the music industry. But the scams, what falls is we're fooled into it because they look real. So we've got to be careful that we're not trusting everybody that says they are this great producer, they're this great person, that they've got the music industry in their pockets. Is that in fact that's why they catch us off guard, because they're so convincing?
That's right, and it is a bit of it's a little strange sometimes, because I mean, if you go in that route with the producer, and someone approaches you and says, "Hey, I'm a producer, and I can make you famous," and then the first thing you should be doing is asking questions, right? So, okay, well, who have you worked with? What songs have you done? Have you done anything that's made top 40? Who have you worked with? What bands have you worked with? And all these things should be traceable, right? So when the Small Town Antics, we did our demo, we had a producer. He works. It was Jason. I can't remember his last name. He works at Studio 11 on the corner of Redwood and Henderson Highway, and just out of curiosity, I knew he was okay because one of the other guys in the band had done stuff with him. But just out of idle curiosity, I asked him, "Hey, well, Jason, who have you worked with?" Not trying to be snotty or anything. I'm just curious who you've worked with. And he gave me a laundry list of Canadian independent musicians that he'd worked with, including showing us a couple of the albums that Tony, our drummer, who introduced us to him, had done. Right, so there's always a track record. Uh, to a producer or to someone who says that they can do it, and if they can't produce a track record, then that's a first thing. So ask questions ad nauseum, and as much as you might get a bit of an eye roll, I think they understand too. You got to protect yourself, right?
Yeah,
And a quick shout out to Andrew Sayers, who's joining us on Facebook.
Hey, Bones, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. Childhood friend, like we were like this tall when I know New Bones. So thanks for joining us.
Is he the one who was featured in the in our games we used to play video? Is he the one that you animated?
No. But he is mentioned very briefly in my book, A Fighting Stance. Anyhow, we'll release that. That's my child. This is my childhood. So yeah, we'll talk about that. It's a fictionalized version anyway. So we'll try and figure out how to promote that, and I keep plugging it. It is available online. If you're interested, just give me a poke, and I'll maybe put some in the show notes. Yeah, and I think that any legitimate person, anyway, go back on topic, any legitimate professional is going to not just accept your question, they're going to expect it, right? They're not, none of that stuff
That's
is, it's only the con man that doesn't want to be revealed. So,
right, exactly.
And so, and another way, and in that way, they pretend to be something they're not. They try and grab your confidence. That's why they call them con men. Even online, and even when it's all done by email, they're still con men. And so that's, they will manipulate you by pretending to be a family. I mean, there's an old. It's happened in olden days, not so much now. But they would, put your arm around and go, "Hey, come on, cousin! I've got a special deal for you," and they hence got the name cousiners, as they're often referred to. And they'll say, "Hey, brother, hey, hey, you're like family to me. You're my best friend. We're best friends now." And it's they'll pretend to be
Right.
they'll pretend to be someone maybe in government or an official maybe knocking on the door, a charity. And again, I mean, like our topic of this this show is the music industry and professionals, and they're all right. So they're always pretend, and they're they're preying on our vanity, pretending to be something they're not. And unfortunately, we are vain. I mean, we like to be, as musicians, we like to be in the front of everyone with the spotlight on. I mean, I'm sitting here in my basement with like 4 lights on me. That's how much I want to be in the spotlights. But we do also have a level of, we want people to appreciate us. Maybe there's a little insecurity there. And so as soon as someone says, "Yeah, you're great, you're wonderful, I love your music." "Oh, really? He must be very smart. He must be very..." And so, and so we get caught right there, right with probably our biggest personality trait, I suspect, is that little bit of insecurity as performers.
Yeah, and I mean, I sort of came of age in the 90s, and of course that was a lot of grunge music, a lot of punk and revival, so there's a lot of self-deprecating kind of stuff. But I mean, even throughout all that, you still have to have a little bit of vanity to be able to step on stage and sort of sit in the center of the limelight and play your music, especially stuff that you've wrote. It's not like you're going to go up and sing somebody else's song your way. You're actually saying, "Hey, this is what I've written, and this is what I'm doing." So there is a no matter how much you want to say that you're not vain, you are. And even me, I'm a backline kind of guy where I play bass, and I'm still I can be just as vain as anybody else, right? I have to wear a nice shirt, I have to wear a nice hat on stage. You can't get away from it. So.
Yeah, it was various when
Yes.
when I met Ryan every week. He'd have a different facial hair design as well, and of course the children children and wives, I guess, as well, come along and take your time, and well, maybe when you pick the right one, you don't have to try as hard, I guess.
Yeah, you're all learning about my disdain for shaving. I absolutely hate to shave.
Well, me too, but you can't see as much. Usually by
I'll save a bunch of my clippings for you.
No, I've got lots. I'm like I got like a couple of days there. Anyhow, right, so we get to see this is stuff we would edit if this wasn't live, right? We'd edit this out. Anyhow, and so because the other elements of our of why cons work as well is that we're either lazy or impatient, and someone offers us shortcuts. And particularly if some of those other elements are true, we feel close to them. Maybe we feel like we can trust them for whatever reason. And it's like it's easy. I could spend my 40,000 hours or whatever whatever it is we're supposed to spend as musicians before we make it big. And I forget what the number is, but something along those lines. It's a huge number of rehearsing and whatever. It's not true, but I mean, but if there's a quick way we can do it in 5 hours rehearsal, hey, and so those are a number of things. So it's key that you're aware of some of those things, particularly when scams are potentially coming your way. You've got to be ready and you've got to be on guard, which kind of leads us on to our first real point of advice, I think, although you did squeeze one in there with the ask questions, so that was good. I didn't have that one explicitly written down. I mean, ask questions of the potential scammer. But be ever vigilant. I mean, it's just a matter of don't necessarily expect everyone to be a con man, but expect the con man to be waiting around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's tough too because if you check out our page, I put up a poll, and it's asking yourself, is it a scam to play for exposure? And that's an interesting question. There's certainly a lot of bars and stuff that we've sidestepped and luckily got out of because they obviously weren't going to pay for us to be there. It's so we sidestepped that, but only through experience. Like I had actually booked 3 bands. It's All in the Mind. I booked a DJ named Andy, and I booked the Small Town Antics to play at this bar that will remain nameless, Sonic's nightclub. I mean, sorry,
it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. As I said,
Sorry.
it doesn't exist anymore. No. And the guy was saying, oh yeah, how much he had people in there, and it all sounded all kind of on the level, except for the one night that Andy went and set up, and then he's gonna play like a Wednesday, Thursday, I think. The Antics were gonna play Friday, and then It's All in the Mind was gonna play Saturday, or some kind of combination of those things. So I lined up lots of entertainment for this guy, and basically he said, well, the first red flag should have been, I said, well, we expect to get paid this much no matter what, right? This is what it's going to cost you. And the guy was trying to weasel out of it, and that's the first time that you can say, it's like, well, what do we get in return? You get free entertainment that might bring people into your bar. What do we get out of this? And he basically at the end, he almost held Andy's gear hostage, and Andy basically said, if you don't get out of here, I'm really going to call the cops and say that you're stealing my stuff, and eventually got out of there. But the place was dead. Like there wasn't a soul. It was all a bunch of lies. He basically had inherited or figured he saw dollar signs in his eyes, had a dead bar, figured he's going to be the one to turn it around, and he's going to scam us or get us to work for free. And so it's like, well, dude, we don't work for your bar. We work for ourselves. We'll work with your bar, but we're not working for your bar, especially not for free. So that's one of those things where it does become a scam. Now, if you go to a bar and they say, hey, we'll play for exposure, and there's like, it's jam-packed, 6 out of 7 nights a week, playing for exposure isn't necessarily a bad thing then, because there's actually people there who are hopefully listening to your music, so there's a trade-off, right? I mean, if you're not going to pay us, offer us drinks or food or even just like, the ability to sell CDs or merch, and then we're okay. Then it's not a scam really, right? Yeah. Sure, you can't pay us, but at least we have the opportunity to make something. So
yeah. Okay, so go check out that poll. I haven't seen it. I've been too busy with the technical stuff here, but go check that out and vote. I think this is going to be our next longer show than previously, just because of the amount of stuff we need to get through. I'd like to get through anyway. So
assuming, of course, we cannot kick every dog and chase every rabbit. Yeah.
So the idea would be vigilant. I think that story does kind of speak to that is, it looks like in that particular case it was a legitimate business with a legitimate need, but they're going to kind of hold back on the payments and make you pay, or in some places they'll make you pay for tickets and then keep the money. So be ever vigilant, but also assume the worst. That kind of ties into that as well. So assume the worst. If something, and we said this last show, if something seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is. So look into it, ask those questions. Assume something is going to cost you in the long term. I like what's that phrase? There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah,
right? It's
that's
going to
for
cost you
sure.
something in the long run, right? Something in return. Okay, I think the biggest biggest word of caution is as soon as they ask for money, I would say run. And I'm going to touch on this in another point as well. But more importantly, never, ever, ever pay up front for anything. Any service or a product, make sure you see it. Make sure it's hand in hand. Any legitimate business, they will do the service and then they will invoice you. So in a
That's
professional, because we are independent musicians, but we're also businessmen, we're also entrepreneurs. And when we're dealing with these kind of people, then we're paying as we get it, or they will invoice us later. Particularly when we're talking bigger amounts of money, as scammers often do. So never, ever, ever pay for anything up front.
That's good advice. I mean, there always can be room for negotiation, and if someone's going to go into negotiation, then you already know that person is probably more trustworthy. One of the things that they often talk about is, hey, maybe we talk about 50% up front, or like a little bit up front, and then pay off the rest, just sort of as a good sign. Again, they might be independent business people as well, right? And maybe they're trying to secure, for tender, we might use them and then run off and not pay them, right? So they're trying to protect themselves too. So I mean, there's always sort of a little bit of give take there. But
yeah, well,
if you're entering into negotiation, that person's already probably trustworthy, right?
Legitimate business people do have expenses. If you go to Long and McQuay to rent something, they want a deposit and then you pay afterwards.
That's right.
Long McQuay's a music store in Canada, for those of you who are in, I think we have Northern Ireland and Great Britain. I don't know if there's any other names there that ring true to another nation we can call out. But anyway, but I think one of the big time things is I'm going to tell a sort of a little story. It's not really a big long one. I don't remember too much. But many years ago, I went to one of these meetings where you can maybe win a holiday or vacation. So there's people lined sitting down in the small room, and they were just selling us timeshare. And it's like, well, okay, well, how much? It sounded like a good deal. I mean, as it always does. And then it was, oh yeah, you need to put down 10,000. Well, that's all our savings, But you've got to pay that. You know what? We like the idea, and we're probably going to spend that over the next, so many years for vacation, and it will probably pay for itself. Let's go away and think about it. No, you got to make a decision now. It's got to make it now. And then I'm like, I'm done. I'm walking out of there because you've got to at every point down here when you're dealing with any kind of business is take your time. That's the point to take away out of that. Take your time. Any decision, and I think I've actually touched on this on the last video as well. I think any decision that's worth making, any decision that is really going to make a big difference in your life is worth thinking about. It's worth taking your time.
Yeah, that high pressure sales tactic is really it. Well, it's a dead giveaway. It's not like you're telling me to buy like $100 worth of something, and not like I have $100 really to spend around. But I mean, I can recoup $100. But if you're telling me that I need to give you thousands of dollars so that you can get me onto music services and this and that, and you're gonna produce it and you're gonna whatever, well. That's not. That's no. I'm not gonna just suddenly just drop $1,000 on you just because you said, and I mean that's a really telltale sign. And pressure, and when they're putting pressure on you, trying to put in the screws to you to get cash or something, that's probably a that's a good sign. It's a scam artist, right?
Yeah,
so,
no problem there. As I remember we're talking about adages or cliches. Is there's no such thing as a once in a lifetime decision. Yeah, remember that. Is that if you're good as a musician, and if if someone's making money doing this and they're trying to sell it to you, well, you know that if they're making money, there'll be someone else doing it as well. Someone else is going to come along, and someone else will be able to provide that same service or give you that same product. Again, it's never ever. I don't think there's ever a case of that. And again, I just reiterate what I said in different terms: is no good decisions are ever rushed. Kind of. We're saying the same thing again in several different ways. Okay, actually, you know what? Actually, a bit of advice too is, if you're single and if you're, particularly if you're young, just tell whoever it is that you're talking to, say, I'm going to go and talk this over with my mum or dad. Or I'm going to go and talk it over with my older brother or my uncle. He's a lawyer. You don't have to be threatening about it, but just say, I'm going to go and talk to someone else. And you can usually see the wide eyes, ooh, even if it's in the email. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. And they'll give something away. So always use your family and your friends as a sounding board on that kind of thing. Anyhow.
For sure.
So another point, so okay, moving on, was the tip. It's really difficult for you to be scammed out of your money if you don't provide enough information for them to be able to take your money. So it's one thing handing the money over, writing a check, but never, ever, ever hand over your any personal information, your social insurance number. I think national insurance number in the UK. It's been a while since I was there. Banking information, address, phone number, passwords, credit card numbers. I think I said that twice. Just keep that stuff until you're absolutely certain that these are legitimate. And you never ever, when you're dealing with a business partner, when you're buying a product or a service or something, you never ever ever need to give them your social insurance numbers ever. So if they're asking you for that, that's a key run. I mean, unless it's someone from the CRA or Inland Revenue, I think in the UK. I've been away with really long. I have to go look this up, see if I got those right. But then, they're the only people that really legitimately would have a need for it. But then you've got to check who you're talking to as well. Anyhow, so keep that safe. They can't steal from you if you don't give them the tools to steal from you with. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. Again, like you said, most of that stuff they absolutely have no reason to. You have absolutely no reason to give that out. Social insurance numbers. If anyone asks for that, other than like border services or a government office, I'm not giving it to you. Banking info. If you're not a bank or a credit union or whatever financial institution that requires my information for payments for like a mortgage or something like that, you're not getting my banking information. Address, phone number, while those could be legitimate, like you might need to ship something to my place or need that, that's kind of gray area. I'll leave that up to your own discretion. But passwords and credit cards, no, you're not getting my. As much as I love the free miles that you'd be racking up on my credit card, I'm not paying it. So
that'll probably end up.
It's not going to happen.
They'll probably steal your air miles as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back on the CRA, if your local tax people have a legitimate reason to call you, and they say call you back, always, here's a good tip, is always tell them, give me a return number. They'll write it down and say, I will call you back. If they're legitimate, they will welcome you to do that. And then what you can do is you can just go to the website of your local tax office. And this happened to me just this, where are we? Wednesday, I think it was it was Friday. I got a message. My wife had actually said this CRA is calling us, a Canada Revenue Agency, we want to call them back. And here's this number, like 888 something like that. That doesn't smell right at all to me.
No.
So I actually spent about 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, on the phone with CRA, just looking through the website, which wasn't that easy to get through. But I did find a general number, and I found the general number. The woman on the girl on the other end, woman, less condescending. She was absolutely super helpful. I explained the situation. She said, "Yep." And then I knew I called CRA. I knew I called them, so I gave them bits of my personal information. I knew who it was, right? And then they said, "Okay, well, let me look up your account." And they said, "What was? Oh, somebody was trying to get a hold of you. What was the number they gave you?" Yes, that's correct. Okay, so we ended up talking to this guy. So there are ways to protect yourselves, and legitimate people provide those ways for you to remain protected. So So remember that. Okay.
Hmm.
Little tip.
That's
Just
odd.
happened on Friday.
I'm surprised.
Coincidence.
Yeah, there you go. I'm actually surprised that CRA made the phone call. Usually, CRA, if they need to get a hold of you, like this Canada Revenue or IRS for people in the States, usually they send registered mail and they say, "Hey, we have something uh, we need to get to in touch with you about," and it details it in the letter, and then they give you a number that you call.
Yep.
Right? Like there's a procedure for it. Now, it might be that maybe you had something already in the works with CRA. I don't know, and that's quite frankly none of my business. But that's the only reason why you would call someone from their agency would call you if you already had something in the works, right?
Yep.
So I mean, they have a whole procedure to thing, and so. And I mean, you absolutely do the right thing if you don't recognize it. And there are lots of scams out there. I had a guy call me up once and he said, "Hi, this is so and so from the CRA." I'm like, "What's the CRA?" And it's quiet. It's like, "Well, it's the CRA." I'm like, "That's great. What do you do there?" He's like, "Well, you owe tax money." I'm like, "No, I don't." Goodbye. Click. Like, that's not how Canada Revenue
Not
operates.
even
So you
close,
can tell
no.
them right
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
And then the other ones that I always get I get like the clearly was written on like the what is it, like Mac had that first text to speech thing, and it's like, "Hello, this is the CRA." I was like,
Click. Yeah.
"This is entertaining over my lunch hour." So there's absolutely a procedure for
Yep.
things to go through.
Yeah, and like I said, all legitimate businesses, all legitimate organizations like that will have a way for you to go check them out, and they will not resist you doing it. They will encourage you.
Hmm.
So another point is don't trust caller ID, particularly if you're looking at phone scams, and don't or URLs, email signatures, and business cards. And if you've ever watched an episode of the Rockford Files back in the 1970s, he had his little printing press, and he would actually make his little business cards, and he would go and pretend to be someone else. So I don't know if you obviously not heard of that show, Ryan. You should check it out. It's a classic. Now, of course, it would be electronic signatures or electronic files. But I'm going to talk now as a phone technician. I actually did manage the phones for a number of companies from an ITI. So I was manager and senior technician. And caller IDs you can actually change those as a technician if you have the access with just put your mouse in the field, enter the text you want, send. And that's it. And we're here to enter. I mean, you can. That's all that a caller ID is, a easily changeable text field. And the phone companies are. I don't know if they're too stupid or there's no way to filter out that and check if it's real or not.
I don't think it's stupid. I just don't think they care.
Yeah, well, possibly. I don't know if there's even a way to filter those out. But those caller IDs are manually put in there unless the phone company has a default. So I could actually, and one of those companies I work for, you go check out the website now. It's quite comical. CanadaDrugs.com. It has been seized by the U.S. government. I haven't worked there for many years because of they don't like people selling cheap drugs to Americans, right? And I would often be asked to put a caller ID on someone's extension so that they could pretend to be calling from the United States. That's how easy it is. It's just, okay, fine. Which state do you want? Okay, Colorado, 202. The only one I know. Anyway, thanks, Phil. So it's that easy.
Way to go, Phil.
So anybody can modify their signature. Anybody can, or anybody that's got a phone system, like telephone scammers, can change the caller ID. URLs, anyone can register a URL. So just check that out. I mean, it's theinvisibleman.co.uk is contacting you. It's not us, right? We don't have that domain. I can't afford too many. But so you can easily and in your emails as well, the return address is not the same as the from field. I mean, those are two different fields as well. So you got to be careful, and you just got to watch. Don't trust what you see. Dig a little bit deeper.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I actually have a one of those examples. Like I have an email address that I've had since I was like 18 years old, but that has become I go to a store, they ask for my email so they can send me promotionals. That's the one that I give them, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden it says your PayPal credit or your credit or debit card issuer advised the credit card was used without your permission, blah, 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 $320. It says service at paypal.ca, which isn't the proper domain. And the actual email on it is something like something way weird, right? So like
Nice,
it's just like
nice and descriptive.
yeah, it's no, it's like some weird, like it's another person's name at some other, like I can't pronounce it. It's a weird, like maybe who knows, it could be like Uzbekistanian or something like that, mail server. Like it just
Right.
doesn't jive. And uh I do get really skeptical about those emails, especially when it comes down to says, "Oh, hey, there's fraud on your account." Well, all I just do is log into my PayPal account and see, "Hey,
Yeah.
did somebody charge me $320?" Nope. Bye.
Never follow those links. All
Exactly.
yeah, particularly on that, if it's a recognizable website, you're not a recognizable service or service provider, and you're not sure, go to the web, go to the link you usually go to. I mean, it's that simple. It's yeah. So I think that's moving on. We've got the big one, probably one of the biggest, and it's probably should be one of the first that you do, is research, particularly when it's those email ones. If they're contacting you via email or it's by a phone call and they've left a message, then the first thing you should do is check it up. Are these people real? And in this particular case, Google is your friend. They may have taken down their or that phrase they've had up there, "Don't be evil," and they may have taken that down, and they may be starting to be evil. But for the purposes of looking up fraudulent or potential frauds and scams, it's an excellent source. Go check that out. So type in the name or the telephone number, space scam. Don't look up is so and so legitimate, because you're going to find yes, these are legitimate. Put in your search phrase would be whatever they left as their name or the company name. Scam, and put space at scam. Search for that. So and see if anyone else has come across these people. That's not a foolproof that somebody has, or that they're using the same name they've always used. But it'll give you a good indication, particularly if it's an email, and you see, oh, someone else has posted this email somewhere, and it looks almost word for word. And there's a clue right there. So Google. Got any Google tips, Ryan?
Well, like I said, like you said before, Google is like your best friend. You always want to make sure that, and with Google too, sometimes you might actually have to do a little bit of digging. It's not necessarily going to pop up, right? So there's a few things. So I remember I was working at another company where I was doing sales and service related work, and we actually had a web portal where you could go in and set up a I want to order 20 fire extinguishers. Okay, great. And then you give them your address and so on and so forth. Well, some guy somewhere in the world found it and sent in a very fraudulent order. And it's on like 20, I need 20 of these 20-pound extinguishers, right? Which are like $60 a piece, our cost, right? So then they go up to like 80. So it's like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. We had to send that. And it's like, okay, well, you start digging into it, and you're like, hey, how are we shipping this? Do you want us to ship, or do you have a shipper in mind? They said, hey, we're going to use this shipper. The shipper, so he gives me the thing, and I look at the email, and it's something like shipecono or something at hotmail.com. I was like,
Oh.
that seems odd. Not saying that the guy couldn't be a freight broker, right? Because but I mean, it's going to be outlook.com, not Hotmail, right? But you look into, you just dig into it, right? So then I go and I Google this freight organization and the phone number that was attached to it, and said contact this guy. Well, the phone number has been discontinued. The freight company is non-existent, and then I look at, and then they wanted international shipping. It was like, well, why would you come to Canada? Because whatever you're going to save buying from us, because we're cheap, you're going to lose in going. It was like someplace in Sweden, right? It was like, it just didn't make sense. So sometimes it's just absolutely insane. So, but Google's a great resource for that. You just Google, oh, what's this street address? The guy says it's a warehouse. Oh, look at that. It's like a storefront shop, and it's like a tiny little like, it's the size of a small house, right? Like it's just 700 square foot thing. It's not at all what they say. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to verify
Yeah.
with Google. That's all I'm saying. But it does take a
Yeah.
little bit of digging, and it does take a little bit of patience. Again, going back to any decision that's worth being made is worth being made in in a timely fashion.
The other way around. Yeah.
Sure.
Take your time.
Yeah, exactly. So
I, I think you knew what you meant, but anyhow.
yes,
Um,
yeah, I think it just all came out wrong.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
and actually,
Happens to the
one
best
other
of us,
thing,
right?
actually, just kind of spin off on what you were saying there is, particularly if there's an address in the email, or that maybe you've got as far as you are going to send them. Yeah, Google Maps is actually a phenomenal tool for that. You can see exactly where it's going. If it's a PO box, it'll be a legitimate. It will be in an area where you would expect it to be.
Yep,
But at the
that's
very
right.
least, you can. Maybe that's not the lie they're telling you, but at least you can confirm. You can confirm that, right?
Yeah, but again, it just didn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
again, the same thing was like the guy's prompting us, "Oh, you got to do this. You got to do this. I need this right away." So, well, if this is so, like, I can't possibly meet your timeline. It's on the other side of the world. I can't even broker someone on that side of the world because I have no idea what your codes and standards are. And it's like, so it doesn't make sense that um, you would do like you would come here. So like
Yeah.
that didn't make sense. So there's every kind
Yeah.
of warning bell that could go off was going off, and it's like, you know what? I finally just pumped the brakes on it. And the guy who looked after our server said, "Hey, you didn't go after this, did you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not stupid." He's like, "Good, because it's totally a bot." It's like I thought so. It just didn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So
yeah, watch out for those red flags. Red flags are there in your minds to warn you something doesn't smell right, and um,
well,
so
it
pay
becomes a
attention.
whole thing. It's like, yeah, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If it smells bad, it probably is. Right? It's just simple logic.
Well,
Right?
it was like eggs, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at the dates on the box to tell you if an egg's wrong. Break it into a bowl. If it smells, it's bad. The date is
Yep,
absolutely
exactly.
meaningless. If you crack it and it doesn't smell, but the egg the yolk breaks. Okay, it's getting old, but you can still eat it. I mean, will someone tell my
Yep.
kids that? It drives me crazy when they waste eggs. Anyhow, sorry. Whew, sorry. Oh.
So now that Mark's given himself a bit of an aneurysm here, we'll let him calm down.
Yeah, I knocked
yeah.
I knocked my headphones out of the jack. So too much of this.
That's yeah. He's gone full Wookiee. So,
Yes. Sir.
I
Yes.
think there's other resources too. I mean, obviously, here's the other thing: musicians talk, right? So if there's a guy going around and offering something that's too good to be true, and we all think it's too good to be true, I'm not gonna hesitate to tell my former bandmates in the Small Town Antics, hey, don't talk to Jim Smith. He's full of crap, right? And we had she was on our show, Amber Epp. She had put out on Facebook and said, hey, is this a scam? Use your resources.
Yep.
Things like, okay, so I know I kind of
Yeah,
gave
so
Manitoba
Facebook's
Music a
great.
hard-
If you particularly
Yeah.
particularly if you are active on Facebook and people will reply to you, um,
yes,
then
that helps.
yeah, and it's a great place. And you can post into musician groups or whatever you're interested in. Just post into a group, maybe something of that same topic of, if it's not music, maybe it's you're into photography. Someone's coming after you. And the odds are you're in a Facebook group. Post it there. Ask a question. You'll be surprised how many people are going to reply with positives and negatives. You'll find it pretty quickly.
That's right. And I know I've kind of given Manitoba Music a hard time in the past, but
And
they are actually.
and
a
I
good
am, for the
resource.
record, I think unwarrantedly. But carry on. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know. Dude, this show's about opinions, right? Anyways,
Indeed, and that's why we are going
no,
to have a fight now.
and like I said, there's things that have rubbed me the wrong way about them, but they are a much better resource if you want to, I don't think we've ever come across anything on Manitoba Music that sort of equates out to an outright scam. There's been some maybe questionable payment from legitimate organizations or ways of paying it. I think there was a music festival that I looked at, and it was like, oh yeah, you have to have like X amount of Twitter followers and so many Facebook followers or
Yeah,
social media followers to get in, and then we'll pay you based on the percentage of how many people can blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, that's kind of questionable, and it's not a scam, but it's
yeah.
close,
Well,
right?
in that particular instance, and there are probably others, because I stopped actually applying for a lot of those things because there was something unreasonable. They wanted someone who was already a big name and already self-sufficient before they would kind of take them on and help them and push them forward. I forgot what I was going to say now. What were we talking about? Yeah.
We were
Sorry.
looking
Yeah,
at,
what I was saying is that Manitoba music is on the surface it looks like another festival, another event, and they were just allowing them to post on their newsletter, perhaps, and that's going to happen, unfortunately. And I don't apply to a lot of those too. So, but should Manitoba music do a lot more, or places like them to vet those? Yeah, possibly. But that's an argument we definitely can have.
well, and I think that's what ends up happening is they probably are doing that. So they get the thing, say, hey, there's a music festival coming up in blah, 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 right, and we need 20 acts over 3 days. Okay, so that sounds good. So this is something we're definitely going to post. So they're going to promote it. They're not necessarily going to get all the information up front, or may not get all the information up front, but they're going to post it. Because I have seen music festivals disappear. Stuff that was there 1 week, and then you think, oh well, maybe we should look into it. Oh, it's gone, and that was the time hasn't elapsed. So they are active in protecting their members. So they are absolutely that there alone would be worth the $50 a month if we were actively gigging, right? But I'm not right now, so I can't justify the $50 a year. So we're not gigging as much as we used to.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Yeah. Also, I think we covered a lot of ground on that one. I'm just going to recap. So Google, you use those search functions. Facebook's a good tool. Post on your personal feed, wall, whatever it's called, on groups in there as well. You can. Email. Actually, we didn't talk about it. You can directly email your. Oh, you did. Sorry, we mentioned the small town antics. Yeah, contact your other musician friends, and you can even contact someone like Manitoba Music or some other music industry and just say, "Is this legitimate? Have you heard about it? Any complaints?" And of course, you've always the places like the Better Business Bureau, those kinds of places as well. Yeah, so I just wanted to recap that there. Now, this is kind of something where I think I've probably written it down a little bit too strong, but as soon as they ask for money, get on your marks, and I'll read each of these down. When they dismiss your questions, get set, and when they get pushy, run. So
I don't think you were too push. I don't think you said that enough, right? I think that's the best possible thing. Yeah. You could. That's great advice.
Yeah. So it's not that. I mean, I did want to say as soon as they ask for money, run. But if they want money up front, run. But it's like I want to think. I need to make a decision. Is this right for my business? As musicians, this is our business. So is this right for us? Is this right for our future? No, we need some time to think about it. We've got limited funds, and so we want to make sure. If you're being pushy, if you're pushing me, then you do not have my best interest at heart. Go away.
That's right. That's right. For sure.
And I think we've got one last point here, is be cautious of people who act out of character. So this is one of those things that it could be, maybe you got an email from someone and think, oh, this seems a bit odd, and then there's a link in it. There's a chance that they may have had their email or their Facebook hacked, and then maybe somebody else sending it to you. There's another case as well where many years ago, actually, I was quite disgusted by someone, and I think I was going to when I used to go to church. Someone was standing by the door, and with someone I know, and he's like, and I overheard this. Oh, look at all those, look at that list. Talking about the human beings in there who they're going for good reasons, presumably, are just marks for this person to catch them in this pyramid scheme. So look at that list. So you've got to watch out for these people too, and it could be a friend or a family member is getting hooked up into one of these. You buy the you don't have to work because you then will get somebody else to sell your products for you. Kind of pyramid schemes, and there are some pyramid schemes that look very close to pyramid schemes that are not. Just be very careful when someone is now treating you differently or acting different. Something's probably up, not guaranteed, but probably up. Just be aware. And
Yeah, that's for sure. We did actually. I'm going to stop you just real quick.
Yep.
Keep your thought in mind. Just going to give a shout out to Floyd Bueller, a good friend of mine from many, many years back. Just joined us on. Welcome, Floyd.
Hey,
Thanks
Floyd.
for coming and joining.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us.
Hopefully, Paige and the girls can be watching too. And anyways, back to Mark.
Yeah. Just one last thing. Actually, it was I should just be wary of anyone you haven't known for a long time who is over friendly, and either wasn't a very good friend or you haven't just seen in a long time, or possibly an enemy. There are legitimate reasons why people might contact you. I had someone at a previous work that contacted me, hadn't spoken to me for a while, and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm now a real estate agent. Do you want to sell your house?" He wasn't pushy. He was just testing. He was just trying his craft on me, and I haven't heard from him since. But there are people that are like that. But just be careful. Obviously, I'm not going to. You're really going to have to try really hard to get me to sell my house. But but just be careful of those things as well. So,
well, I think that already there, though. I mean, if he's gone and he's gotten his real estate license and he's just going through his Facebook and he's putting out a troller email saying, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent. Would you like me to?" It's like dropping the mailers in there. I get it probably. Someone sells their house in the neighborhood and I get like 4 or 5 of them sitting there from all the different agents that are walking through, right? Because they have to show off the neighborhood. So that's fine. I'm not going to do it. But that I wouldn't say is a scam. But when I asked the guy, "Hey, can I get an appraisal for a mortgage?" and all he can see is sell. It's like, get out of my house now, right? I don't want to sell. I want an appraisal so I can look at my at rechanging some terms on my mortgage or remortgaging my house because we need a little bit of extra capital. Those are all things that I would legitimately do. So I'll go get my 3 appraisals and get my average, and then the bank is satisfied, and then we're good. But if you say, that's the other thing too, perfect way you can see that somebody is scamming you is the minute you back out or start to back out and think that, hey, this isn't really for me, and they start getting more aggressive, just close that door fast can be, because that's somebody who's looking to, they're not looking for, they're just looking out for you, right? He sees in the real estate world, he sees his 4.5% commission or whatever it is he's going to make off the house. That's what he's looking at. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about what you move into or if you sell at a loss. He just wants his cut. That's it, right?
And there's nothing really wrong with friends or old friends contacting other people, but be careful. If they're pushy, you don't need that, and it's not going to be. Not going to do anything. It's as good as if they start getting pushy and try and pushing you, then it's as good as a traditional scam. So
that's exactly right.
Okay, so I think that's kind of we got to the end of my notes. Did you have anything to add before we hit the recap screen?
No, I think we should go right to that recap screen.
Here we go.
So that we can all. There we go.
Okay, so just to recap. So this is kind of what we talked about. Narrowed it down there. So people need to earn your trust. Typo. You trust. People need to earn your trust. I did this all quickly right before the show. Never pay up front. Take your time, for crying out loud. Don't rush into anything. Ever. Think it through. And go talk to your dad and mum and dad. I think that was my tip on that one, or at least tell them that's what you're going to do.
Or someone that you trust. Talk to somebody that you have supreme confidence in and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
So protect your personal information, all that important stuff, is social insurance number, credit card numbers, everything. Keep that safe until you know it's absolutely certain that this person can be trusted. And again, don't trust caller IDs, URLs, emails, email signatures, business cards. All of those can be faked and easily.
And that's where that leads nicely into the next point. Google is your best friend. Research. Always look, always search, always ask. Research. Google is probably the go-to for everyone, but look them up on Facebook. Here's the thing: you can go buy a domain name for like $20 and make a page look good. But if you're serious about business, one of the biggest ways of doing business now is social media. If you don't have a social media presence and you're trying to woo people, um, that's pretty good. Probably a pretty good indicator. That's not 100%, but that's a good litmus test,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
there's that part of it.
Yep, and I think I wrote this by the way I was thinking it. As soon as they ask for money, run. But definitely, as soon as they start getting pushy, and then asking while they're asking for money, or they're pushy and money comes up, go. Just leave, walk away. But better still run. Anyway, so that's the that's the summary of what we were talking about. So I'm going to put in those notes, and I've got about I think 7 or 8 different real URLs you can go check out with some information on scams, and I'm going to put those on the show notes on our website, theinvisibleman.ca. So you just go to the theinvisibleman.ca. Everything that you could possibly want to know or do or see or feel, maybe not feel, can be found on our website. So while I'm on there, so theinvisibleman.ca, Facebook, you can catch us on the It's All in the Mind band, because our cohorts, and we're also live streaming this as well on the Colorado Phil Show page. So thanks, Phil, for being agreeable for helping promote this.
You're awesome, Phil. Thank you.
And of course, we'll actually have Phil will be on. He's actually a co-host on our show on the 13th as well. So looking forward to I'm glad that's really happy to have Phil on board with us. And you can catch us.
Yep.
Gonna try and breathe. I usually get out of breath by this point, don't I?
There you go.
You can catch us on YouTube.
So before Mark passes out from not being able to breathe, you did mention that July 13th is coming up as our next big show with our friend and cohort, Colorado Phil Dupuy. We'll have a very special guest, Carrie Luce Forsythe from the band Load. Again, as I had mentioned it earlier in the show, they have released a new album. I'm looking at it right now, one that I purchased online, which you should too, or you should buy it from Carrie when you see her, if you get a chance to see her. It's called Loose Overload, and it is a phenomenal album. It's just one of those albums that I looked at it, I anticipated it would sound a certain way, and it blew me away. It just absolutely sounded beyond what I expected, and it was just one of those happy surprises. So I can't talk good enough about this.
Yeah.
It's a
album. We'll put some links.
Check it out.
Yeah, we'll put some links in the on the event page for this. So go check that out. We'll put that on there as well, and I'll probably share it out outside of that as well. But go check that out. Go join the events. It's on the Invisible Man. Start again. It's on the It's All in the Mind band page and the Colorado Phil Show page as well. Both events can be accessed through those two locations. So check us out on YouTube, theinvisibleman.ca/YouTube. The easiest way to get you there. The quality of the picture is way superior to what it is on Facebook. Go check that out. Like, subscribe, share, and all that other good stuff, which we should have said right at the beginning, and we forgot. So like, subscribe, and share, and follow, and whatever else. And if you're on Twitter, follow me at MD Stallard and Phil at Colorado Phil 1. We do reply, and we are alive on that. Now it's easier with 256 characters. Although, or you could say that my workload is doubled.
Yeah, there you go. So contrary to popular belief, I actually do have a Twitter, and I'm still contemplating whether or not I should get back into the Twitterverse. So maybe that will be our next poll. Should Ryan reactivate his Twitter account?
So did we have any takers on that poll, by the way? What are the results?
Let's see. I have to get to that page.
Let's hope it's more than one.
Let's see here. I believe it's on this page. As I fumble around, I usually like to have the tabs open so that I can switch before. But where's my poll? Apparently, I created a poll and it went into oblivion.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe make it moving then. Okay.
All right.
Well,
maybe
we'll.
It's not that big a deal. I'll get down on this poll making stuff, and we'll We'll figure it out. So if you think that Ryan should have a Twitter account, you can leave a comment, or should reactivate his comment.
There we go.
Leave a comment in on the page. It's all in the mind,
Okay.
or find us here on Facebook, and
Sounds-
maybe I'll rejoin the Twitterverse.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and one last point: if you want to support the show, you can get these wonderful mugs. I use it regularly during the show. You probably noticed. And again, you can reach everything from the main websites, theinvisibleman.ca, or you can get there quickly by adding /merch. And there are a couple of T-shirts available there as well. More merch will be coming as demand rises. So I think that we've already talked about the upcoming show on the 13th. There is a part 3 to this, and it's going to be more of a personal thing. Actual scams that we have either been caught in or we've been able to defend ourselves from, and that's going to be in the next show. And I don't know if we've actually got a date. I think it's going to be in 2 or 3 weeks. I forget. I think it would be 2 or 3 weeks from now, but we'll publish that ahead of time, and it's going to be a little less. I'll have fewer notes, and we'll probably get that's a little bit more personal in some of that stuff as well. So that'll be something to look forward to, I hope, for you guys. So, yep. So I think that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us from the various countries that you've joined us from. It's been actually a pleasure having you. Having that. I hope to see you in it's Saturday, July 13th, and we'll be putting some promotions out for that as well, just to remind everybody when it's on. So, do you have any last words, Ryan?
No.
Okay, we're good. Okay, it's getting tired. This is a long show. We went like almost a full hour there. So thank you very much, Ryan, for joining me on the show again. It's been a lot of fun. It always is. And thank you very much again, everybody else. And we'll catch you in I'll catch you in on the 13th. But for Musical Mind, we'll be back in about 2 or 3 weeks. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you soon.
Oh,